Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another lively episode of Practical Chrome. You are joining us live on Tuesday, September 16th? And this episode is going to be all about developing on Chrome, on Chrome OS, Chromebook. We're going to go over some of the things that have to do with being able to code for the web, and maybe even some other code. We're going to look at that as well. But before we move on, we do want to talk about our sponsors. Of course, I don't have my my fancy dancy thing up, which I meant to have up so I could share the screen and so that everything would be all neat. That's not the right one. Is that the right one? Okay. So, but who I want to talk about, but we do want to thank our sponsors. I can't get their screen up right at the moment, but I would like to thank the Effective Group and also Coinbase. Now, the Effective Group, do you need a fantastic website that not only looks great on mobiles and tablets, but also gets you selling online? Then Effective Group is the company for you. To find out more about the Effective Group, view their portfolio, and read about their successes, visit effective-group.com. And also by Coinbase. Coinbase is an international digital wallet that allows you to securely buy, use, and accept Bitcoin currency. Coinbase is Bitcoin safe and easy. Visit them today through our referral link to help the show. Visit coinbase.practicalchrome.com. And I am working on getting the images up for the people that are watching live on video, or if you're watching it on YouTube, because this is the show, of course, dedicated to everything Chrome. All Chrome users, whether you're on a Windows machine, a Linux machine, a Mac machine, and you're running Chrome browser, or whether you're running Chrome OS, we're all about that. We're live Tuesdays at 10:10. And, of course, joining me every week, every single week, no matter how many times I tell them not to come, they both show up, is Craig Tummelson and James Walbus. Craig, how are you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing great, John.
Look at you, doing good. Mr. Welbus, what's up?
Not a lot of.
I'm with you. Now, this episode is, do you develop software? And you do it on a Chromebook? We're going to take a look at how and why you might want to develop on a Chromebook. We also take a look at some online IDEs, and we look at also what else you can do, right? So the Web Starter Kit was kind of like my jump in there with my adventures at Chrome and developing on a Chromebook. But there's a lot more you can do, and you can also do a lot of it in the cloud, and you can still also do some of it offline. So we're going to be going over that. But I do want to mention, last week, basically I haven't been home, like ever, at all. Not at all. Zero, zilch, for the past week and a half. Last week I was in Reston, Virginia, which is a little bit south of D.C., and this time I'm up in New York, visiting with Google because I am a rising star in the Hangouts section of the product forums. So, listen, if you want to meet some really cool Google people and some really cool people that go out there and help other people that are trying to use the product just in their own time and all that kind of stuff, definitely check out the product forums. We'll put a link in the show notes. But I am sitting in the Ace Hotel, which is very trendy. I mean, look at the wall behind me. It's black. It's not white. It's not beige. It's not tan. It's black. What I'd like to do, just because it's uber cool, right? I'm going to do a little panoramic for you guys just to show you the hotel. I realize not everybody can see, but like you have to witness this to understand how interesting the Ace Hotel is here in New York. I'm just going to pick you up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spin the camera, and you can see like there's my front door. And the little sign is magnetic, and it says "Not Now." You can kind of like flip it around, and so it's gray. Isn't that weird? And so and then over here on the wall, got a big ship mural. And then of course you've got the different machines that I'm using, and then of course the TV that I'm using for a little bit of glow, and then the black shades, all that good stuff. The bathrooms, that's private, but it is interesting too. Nobody wants to see the bathroom, but it's just a very interesting hotel, very like steampunky slash. It's just very interesting. Anyway, so I'm here in New York, hanging out with a bunch of cool Googlers who are working with either Hangouts, Drive. There's AdWords people here. There's webmaster people here. Oh man, it's unbelievable the amount of really cool folks that have come in that Google has brought out here. So I'm really excited. James and Craig, I know that you guys are all set for Chicago next week, right?
Yep.
completely.
All set. Packed yesterday.
Well, I haven't packed yet. Not till Tuesday. Well, we leave Monday. Oh, yeah, we leave Monday. I should pack.
Yeah, you should. See? It's Tuesday, a week prior. I was already packed. I just basically, because I had the hotel washed my stuff, so I was able to just literally just fold it and put it in the new bag. So that was awesome. So that's kind of been my week. Honestly, I haven't cracked open my Chromebook, but maybe twice. It's been so crazy. So it's good to actually get on it to produce the show notes, and I was really, really excited. And also, James is the one who actually came up with the developer show, doing a little bit of a developer, looking into the development on a Chromebook, find out what's going on with that. So thank you, James.
You're welcome, sir.
You're the man. By the way, one other thing about the hotel. Okay, they don't give you a pen; they give you a pencil. Cool, right? Now bear with me here. Bear with me here. You're like, John, what's he talking about? Well, I'm showing you a pencil on the screen, and I'm telling you about a pencil. But what happens when it goes, dull? Let's say you're Ernest Hemingway up in here, and you are just scratching away, and you're like, man, I've rubbed this thing down to the nub, and I can't write anymore. Oh, that's okay. There is a pencil sharpener attached to the desk. A pencil sharpener. Again, weird things for me. I don't know. Just interesting stuff. Very, very, very cool place. So, sorry. I just had to say that. I seriously. I mean, it's like I'm in grade school. It's so cool. Anywho, let's get to it, guys. What do you say? There's been some interesting news this week. We're going to get into some news, and then we'll get into the development stuff. We'll take a look at all that, and then and we'll continue forward. Come on. Craig, you got to unmute yourself, man. You're killing me right now. I can see you laughing. Even if you're laughing at me, I want to hear it. But you won't share your laughter.
There's too much background noise. My mic will keep switching.
All right. All right. Let's get into some news. I'm going to try and share my screen now, at least while we do the news here. Give me 1 second to bring that up. See if I can get it to work here. Oh, it's already on. Oh, look at that. Okay. Hold on 1 second. So, of course, the show is hosted using Google Hangouts on Air. And what I do is I use two machines, and you'll actually see my face in yet another window down at the bottom if you watch the video. Ooh, look at that. Now we're getting double audio.
We're getting double audio.
And turn that off. Turn that off. And turn that off. Okay. Behind the scenes on Practical Chrome. Okay. And then I share my screen using the screen share tool. Uh-oh. I think Chrome OS just went kaput. Oh, no, that's good. Okay. Kaput is a technical term. Okay, cool. So here we go. So, that's interesting. It's new. There's new stuff. There's like this present to everyone button. Hangouts on Air getting more cool every day. All right, so let me go ahead.
Aren't you a rising star in the Hangouts forum, John? I feel like you should have known about this new stuff.
You know, you make a point. You make a point, sir. And I can't. I'm missing something. Hold on 1 second, because I'm missing something in there. Because I need to correct. I muted myself. It's muted. Yeah. Nothing like All right. We're fine. We're fine. We're good. Okay. Sorry, guys. Get a little lost there. So before we continue with the news, what I do want to do is thank our first sponsor for the episode, and that is, of course, going to be Coinbase.com. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is Coinbase? Right? Now, Coinbase is Bitcoin safe and easy. Do you know that more and more companies are accepting Bitcoins? I mean, we're talking Google, 1-800-Flowers, Dell, bigger and bigger companies are accepting Bitcoin as a currency to be able to take transactions. So if someone's offered you Bitcoin in exchange for goods or services, like, you might be asking yourself, where do I go? Well, Coinbase is going to be kind of the place you're going to want to start off with. I think it's the best place. It's online, right? It's a digital wallet, more or less, right? And so with the popularity growing more and more, you're going to want a well-known source to purchase and then keep your Bitcoin, right? Kind of like a bank. Coinbase can be your easy and worry-free source for those Bitcoin transactions. You give someone your address, it goes to your Bitcoin address at Coinbase, and they kind of handle everything for you. Bitcoin, of course, is not super complicated, but if you have some worry about some of those things, Coinbase is kind of like, is a place that's a preferred place that like Dell, Google, people like that have already trusted to do those transactions. So if you're concerned about getting into using Bitcoin as a currency, then Coinbase is like your best first step. Like I said, with some of the strongest security, stronger than most banks, Coinbase makes using Bitcoin just incredibly safe. So visit Coinbase today through our referral link to let them know that the Practical Chrome podcast sent you by going to coinbase.practicalchrome.com. So again, that's coinbase.practicalchrome.com. And that would be awesome. We'd appreciate it. We'd appreciate it. Okay, guys. So I don't even know if was I sharing the right screen for that? I don't even know.
Yep.
Was I? How do I get it off? Wait, that's weird. Sorry, guys. 1 second. I think I've clicked a button or something.
Click on yourself.
I did. There we go. Now it's switching back and forth. I think. Now it's all weird now. Now it's all weird. Because that's why. Okay. Don't mind me. Listen, it's been a long day, okay? I went to work, then I got on a plane, flew here, had a 2-hour subway ride because I didn't know which train to get on. It was a bad scene. It was a really bad scene. All right, so it's still not switching off of. Why is it doing that? So what's going on right now is that it won't switch off of the screen share on the primary window, and I don't know why. And that's concerning me. I don't know how to fix that. Darn it. All right, I'll just do it manually. So anyway, sorry guys. All right, so let's get into the news. So the news, basically, we're going to start off with Craig. You had actually added a few notes in the news section about Amazon AppStream now supports Chrome browser and Chromebooks, and also you had an extra one in there as well. If you could honestly just kind of go over this real quick, because I'd like to know a little bit myself. I haven't had a chance to dive into those articles at all.
Sure. Amazon offers a service called AppStream, which is similar-ish to VMware and their Horizon View service. But essentially, it allows you to build complex applications in the cloud and then allow simple devices like Chrome OS devices or Fire OS or Android or even iOS devices to connect to it and run that application over the web. So it's a software as a service type of service. And this is just kind of the last leg where they've released a Chrome SDK specifically for supporting Chrome and Chrome OS. It'll work on any Chrome OS, any Chrome device running Chrome OS version 37 or higher. And I believe it also supports Chrome desktop browsers for Mac and Linux. So there's no like DRM technology that's preventing you from using this on the Linux box as well. But overall, it's just another win. It's just another example of Chromebooks being capable. And to have Amazon as a partner kind of leading the charge on this is extremely nice to see. Amazon's a big player in cloud computing. Their AWS service hosts lots and lots of big websites, including Reddit, if anyone's familiar with that. So
Never heard of it.
What's Reddit?
Never heard of it, right. Very large website, guys. But yeah, so it's interesting to have Amazon as another player, and this really seems like a bit of confidence coming from Amazon.
I can see that. Like you said, like everybody uses it. I'm confused a little bit about like what it is, though. I'd have to look a little bit deeper because it looks like it might have that whole like. I can't tell if it's an app on the server that then you're looking into it, kind of like VMware, or is this like another way for them kind of to get into the Chrome apps market?
Is this going to get me Photoshop on my Chromebook? Or a Photoshop-like program?
They actually mentioned developers of CAD, 3D modeling, medical imaging, and other types of applications can now build compiling, graphically intensive applications that run, again, on those simple devices. I don't know that Photoshop is really going to be a contender here, but they do mention CAD software and 3D modeling software as some that are definitely workable in this type of environment. As far as I can tell, John, this is software as a service. So it's going to be individual applications designed and written by third parties that are hosted on Amazon's cloud servers that are then streamed to your computer using the Amazon compatible streaming technology.
Here's a question: is it using like Pinnacle? And that would be one of my questions. Is it downloading kind of like what's that awesome game? Not Flappy Birds. No, come on, not Flappy Birds. The one that we really like,
Bastion?
Bastion. Because Bastion, I believe, it's a Pinnacle game, the nasal Pinnacle, the client.
Pinnacle.
Pinnacle. That's
I forgot what Pinnacle was for a minute until you said Knackle.
Right. That's my kind of thought, Craig. Is that it might be kind of like that, where it pops up as it downloads the entire. And then when you close your browser, it disappears.
Well, it's actually an app you install from the Chrome Web Store. So there is local code being stored, probably to open up the window that then streams. But I'm not sure that it's written in either of those languages, because they do claim that they support Fire OS, Android, iOS, Mac, Microsoft Windows, and Chromebooks. And I'm not sure that native client has that support for all of those platforms, especially Fire OS. So I'm wondering if it's more HTML5 than it is native client on the host side, or the client end.
Well, that's a good point then. So it sounds like they're really just building a service to create HTML5 apps.
Yeah, basically. It sounds like they're building the tunnel, and then you design the app, and then they just handle the distribution element, which is what their cloud service is really known for.
Good point. All right, that is kind of big news. Like you said, it's Amazon jumping on board with Chrome OS. So I'm down. Your next one was the possible future of wireless charging on Chromebooks. Oops, my phone just had a moment. Craig, what's up with that?
We don't have much information, but I thought this is something right up John's alley, since he keeps insisting on some sort of mobile device, possibly. Essentially, the facts we have were shared by a Reddit user named BazSmith7. He went through they went through the Chromium commit log. They found a commit that specifically mentions inductive wireless charging being enabled on a new Chrome OS board that Francois actually pointed out recently, called Ryu. It's R-Y-U. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
We know who Ryu is. I know who Ryu is.
Street Fighter 2, baby.
What's that?
Street Fighter 2.
That's Hadouken!
Okay, I'm missing out on something, but
You're too young, Craig. You're too young.
I guess so. But either way, they have confirmed that this is being enabled and spot tested. So they have hardware where this works, at least enough to test it. So it's a step in the right direction. As always, we don't know if this board will ever see the light of day, especially for a consumer release. But it's definitely being tested, and it's possible that if the tests go well, we may see it in an upcoming device. Form factor, we don't know.
All right. Well, listen. Like I said, it's kind of like some of the guys dig into the code and they find some really cool stuff. So for them to find something on the wireless charging, which we now see with devices across the board, it's becoming more and more popular. Charging over the air, I think it would be even cooler. But like Craig said earlier, Tesla's no longer with us. But they've had those charging pads for years. I mean, like years and years and years. So to build it in, is a huge plus. So I'm down.
I did hear a rumor related to that Starbucks is going to be putting charging pads on their tables. So that would be pretty awesome sauce if I could just take my Chromebook to Failbucks, set it on the table, and it would just charge, and I wouldn't have to bring my cable with me.
I think we're going to have to standardize wireless charging first, because there are quite a few competing standards.
Let Apple take care of that, Craig.
I would prefer not to.
They'll standardize it.
Yeah, they said that with FaceTime too.
What's FaceTime?
They also said that they would adopt micro USB, and they didn't.
Well, Lightning looks kind of like micro USB.
I mean, in all honesty, it's better, but I'm not going to go there right now. But
well, you don't have to, because we've got USB Type-C coming up.
True.
I know, but it's late to the game, right?
Well, sometimes you just gotta take your time and get it right. Isn't that the Apple slogan?
No. No. The Apple slogan is design it to be awesome and then charge 3 times than what it's worth.
Well, designers are not cheap.
That's not a slogan so much as just their business model.
Listen, I literally am serious that the Lightning actually is a phenomenal connector. The fact that it flips upside down and all that good stuff, I mean, it's perfect.
If you have an iPhone 4.
True.
What about that, John?
But it is a second proprietary connector from a manufacturer when all the manufacturers in the EU specifically had to agree to use one to reduce waste. So the fact that they went ahead and still released the Lightning, I honestly think that it shows a little bit of gall to throw out what everyone wants to release as a standard to try and reduce waste. I realize that their design currently might be better, but really I think what they wanted was the royalties, and they wanted to eat it up for a while. I mean, again, the engineers did a great job, and the engineers themselves, I always do this, but the engineers themselves, they're proud of their product, and they did a really good job. But that said, the company itself made a promise to the EU that they wouldn't do that, and they did it anyway. And that's some BS, and that's just messed up. So that's my take on it. So let's go ahead and switch before I go down another road. Okay, so coming up now with the Chromecast news, and this is kind of cool. What this is going on is that iHeartRadio, Disney, and Drama Fever, iHeartRadio, did I say iHeartRadio? And then Twitch, they are coming to the Chromecast. This is an article from ChromeStory.com, and Dinson actually quotes, and this was straight into my world. For kids of all ages, we're introducing the Watch Disney Junior, and Watch Disney XD apps, so you'll be able to watch Girl Meets World, Doc McStuffins, and Star Wars Rebels on demand from the Disney Android and iOS apps. Yes, and then of course iHeartRadio, which I'm not a big listener of. I hit like some local stations at my place, but anyway, guys, I think that Chromecast is really coming along. We've seen some competitors pop up. Dell, I think, recently came out with some little stick thing. I mean, it's kind of a challenger, but also does some other stuff. So it's not. They're saying it's not really. Chromecast is really catching on, though. I mean, Firefox now has it integrated. In Chrome Beta, if you're watching an HTML5 video, you can put it up on you can stream it, which is really crazy cool that you can do that. Do either of you think you're going to hit these two? I know that you guys do Pandora and of course the Google Music, but I mean, it's crazy how much stuff's coming out with these things. James, what are your thoughts on the popularity of the Chromecast?
I love it. I don't use any of these new apps that you just mentioned. I don't know what Drama Fever is. I have a wife and 2 daughters. I get enough drama in my life. I don't need an app for that. But it's just awesome to see other things, especially big names like Disney, Twitch, iHeart, jumping on board. I think didn't even Amazon. Is Amazon Prime Chromecast, or did they get Android support? They got something.
No. I don't. And Greg's shaking his head too. I know that they don't have support it, and I don't know if they will because they're still trying to push their their device. So
It
I don't
was
know if
Android they got, wasn't it? I got confused. I think you can download Amazon Prime through the Amazon App Store on Android now, but still no Chromecast support.
That is correct.
Okay, my bad.
And
So Disney's no Amazon, but they're pretty big too. So it's exciting to see companies like them jumping on board with the Chromecast.
That's true. Craig, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know you're hitting the Disney. You like the Dr. McStuffins.
No, but this is a perfect example of a major corporation looking at the ecosystems available, seeing technology like Miracast that is standardized and proposed by the Wi-Fi Alliance, throwing it aside and doing their own thing.
Where have you heard that before, John?
I love Chromecast. I love Google Cast. The only thing I will say is that a few people are pointing out that we haven't seen TuneIn support Chromecast yet, and Google is actually an investor in TuneIn. But as Brett Sullivan pointed out, it's actually probably not possible because TuneIn pulls radio sources from a lot of different places, including iHeartRadio. And because of the way that they pull their sources in, there's probably not a standardized way for them to pass those channels straight to the Chromecast without rebroadcasting, which would be a legal no-no. So we probably won't see that, but I wanted to mention that because Brett Sullivan just came to me and he's like, you know what, I know why that's not probably going to happen. And I said, yeah, you're exactly right. So I wanted to throw that out there too. But I welcome as many apps as possible.
Now, I will tell you this: the folks over at TuneIn have actually been doing a push for the past year to get podcasts, and we've been live on TuneIn.com since the beginning. They were one of the first companies to pick us up and basically broadcast us. So I'm all down with the TuneIn. And what they can do is they'd have to do sourced content, right? They'd have to do podcasts and original content or something like that. They're allowed to broadcast, like Craig said. You're right, it would be rebroadcasting if it was. So they'd have to flag their apps, but then that would be like, well, I can't do one, but I can do the other. That'll get kind of frustrating. But it's interesting. Yeah, I like TuneIn.com. That's awesome. That's awesome. Everything is awesome. All right, next up. Chrome OS will soon let you access Dropbox, Amazon S3, and more from the file manager. So this is coming from OMG Chrome, and I've only had a chance to really just kind of skim it when it comes to this, but I know that I've always thought that this was going to be coming up sooner or later, just simply because I think as much as Google wants us to lock in to Drive, and I love Drive, especially for some of its, honestly, it's some of its extra abilities, not just the fact that it holds files, but the file sharing options, things like that. The fact that you have the whole Docs product line inside of there as well. But I don't think they wanted to lock you in necessarily because they wouldn't. They got to be a little bit more open. You got to have a little bit more fight in your, and be able to offer other services when it comes to cloud stores. Craig, have you had a chance to peep this? Look over this little guy?
Yeah, I looked over it last year in April, and it first became a thing, and I actually was the first one to tip off OMG Chrome last year in April. So this is a progress report. This is just an update on how it's doing. It's still alive. It's still being actively developed, and we're getting closer and closer, which is good news. A lot of people have wondered why this has taken so long, and you really have to look at it not just as a technical issue, okay, how many man-hours does it take to implement, but as a political one as well. Like John said, there is a certain inherent lock-in that we've seen so far, and there's no doubt that Google would like to change that, but it needs to do it in a way that is easy enough to be attractive to third parties. Dropbox probably isn't going to want to spend a lot of developer time to support Chrome OS just if it's going to be difficult. But if it's easy, they're more likely to. Same goes for OneDrive for Microsoft and a lot of other services. And the team also expressed that they really wanted to find a way not just to let third parties integrate, but to let third parties build apps and other services that would integrate new technologies. So not just create a folder that connects to Dropbox, but to add Samba support, to allow password-mounted zip archives, to allow ISOs to mount. The API is called the Chrome File System API, and it's really going to open the door for developers, third-party or even Google, to build on top of it, build support for a lot more things that we haven't seen yet. For example, 7-zip. I would love to have 7-zip support, to be able to mount a 7-zip archive, drag and drop files between it. I prefer it to the standard zip compression. That's just me. But that's not currently possible. So this is a big step. It's a big step in the making, and I'm going to be absolutely thrilled to see it hit a stable channel build.
Now, James, do you use Dropbox, sir?
No. I used Dropbox once. It was not painful.
Okay. That's all he's got.
I used it when we used to share apps back in the day before I stopped lying to myself that was stealing. A few of us at work would share apps between one another with Dropbox, but I did that for like one app, and then I decided to stop stealing apps. And then I started using Drive shortly after that. So
there you go. Well, I've used Ubuntu One. I've used Dropbox, and honestly, I think that to me the Drive has become better for me. So I haven't, not only that, but like I use the two-factor authentication, and I've got the sharing going on properly on my Google Drive. It has its limitations, right, for syncing some things, and so I see that. But I've never used it. And then Dropbox has also had a couple of issues, like the fact that their RSA key was like the same key for like everybody's files. So that was like putting like one. Right. So if you broke that, you basically got into everything, stuff like that. Where I was like, not really liking it that much. But
I want iCloud integration in my Files app, John. When is that coming?
Well, I don't want all my pictures released though, James. I have so many photos.
I don't want to see them, John.
No, maybe one day. Who knows?
I did hear one person asking for Google Plus photo support, to be able to mount Google Plus photos as a folder, essentially. And I thought that was amazing. I would love to do that.
Agreed. I currently have an issue with when my files, they say they're backed up and they uploaded, but then I can't see them in certain apps, like the app that the Chromecast uses. It says you need to have stored this one on the cloud to be able to view it. I'm like, I did. It's backed up. So I haven't figured that out yet.
I'm excited about FTP support as well. It'd be really nice to be able to just drop. I mean, there's the apps for that, but it'd be nice to just open files and drop some stuff on your server and be done with it.
Yeah, I agree. Because I mean, FTP has literally been like a standard for millennia. So being able to just simply use it would be nice. All right. Now back to a little bit of Chrome OS love and Chromecast love, and that is the fact that you can cast from the media player in Chrome OS to your Chromecast. My only concerns, and I think that we've talked about this before, we've talked about how if you're going to be casting from your Chrome OS device, if you have a lower end model, you're asking a lot of your Wi-Fi, your Chromebook, and then your Chromecast. I don't even know if this is it's coming out, I believe. So you can do it from your Google Drive, but again, I don't know. James, what are your thoughts on casting directly from your Chromebook?
That would be neat, John. Back to you.
Okay.
I think it'd be cool. I mean, podcasting is okay, but it's kind of crappy sometimes.
That's what I'm talking about, though. So, I mean, so Craig, now if you do it from Google Drive, you're pulling you're asking the Chromecast to do the Wi-Fi connectivity, and it'll be connected directly to Drive, and then boom, boom, it's no longer talking through the Chromebook. If you're talking about streaming directly from the Chromebook,
there's a big difference between streaming a file that is stored on the Chromebook and having the Chromebook convert what's going on the screen to a video file that is then streamed. This may not require any extra processing power at all. If it's just a matter of the Chromebook setting up a server and serving the file as it is to the Chromecast, you'll have better quality and faster access, less lag than from the cloud itself. Because again, you're just going over your local Wi-Fi network, which is typically rated much faster than your home internet connection can provide from the outside internet. So there's a few questions left as to whether it's doing some sort of screencasting or just setting up a localhost server and serving it that way. I would assume the second. Otherwise, like you said, there would be too many issues with the low-end devices. So from a technical standpoint, it makes much, much more sense to just say, okay, here's the file. As long as it's a format the Chromecast can understand, just give the file straight to the Chromecast.
right? And that actually reading this Tom's article all the way through, because
That's a good start.
that'd be good. It basically says that if you have the Google Cast extension installed, the Media Player app on your Chromebook will show a cast icon next to the video files in the Drive section of your Files app. So that means that it does have to be on Google Drive. So that means that it is not asking the Chromebook to do anything. It's actually just as Chromecast has worked beautifully with the handoff of the streaming from the cloud. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, you're okay. So, Craig, your point was, if the Chromebook is actually doing like the decoding and then the putting on the screen and then putting it over to Chromecast, that might become difficult. But if it's just pumping the file as a local server, like you said, that would be better. So we'll have to wait and see. And then even Dinsan's like, yeah, once we have that, maybe we'll get the local media option. Well, we'll have to wait for Francois to let us know if that's going to happen. So, good stuff, Dinsan. All right. Next up is, so read Kindle books offline on a Chromebook. So we've actually done a couple of apps in the past where we talk about being able to read an EPUB or a Mobi on your Chromebook, and there's a couple of really great apps out there on the web in the web store, Chrome Web Store available that allow you to read one that you've downloaded and you have offline. And I think that some of them had Drive access, things like that. So I mean, there's some couple really good ones out there. But what if you have all of your books you've purchased on Kindle? There's an app for that. Kindle's just released the app. They've long been able to read them online, but now they can actually pull them down and read them. So that's pretty cool. Craig, I think you and I have spoken. Do you have any Kindle books?
No, I don't own a Kindle.
No.
I have many Kindle books.
James, you have many Kindle books?
I have many Kindle books.
Name a title.
I have, what's that one by Tom Clancy? Without Remorse. I have a whole bunch of G.K. Chesterton books, a bunch of random theology books. I tried to find the Deathlands series, but that doesn't start till book number 79, so what's up with that, Deathlands? I'd rather start at number 1.
Well, there you go. And do you have a Kindle, or do you just use the apps on your phone?
Just use the apps on the phone and the tablet.
Nice. Seriously though, you should get yourself a used Kindle. The paper the paper white version or the e-ink, dude, it'll blow your mind.
My
I'm
friend
serious.
has one of those, and he looks way too pretentious when he's using it. I might as well just get an iPhone at that point.
No, trust me, it's really cool. All right. Trust me, I like it. All right, so that's the news. So that's awesome. That's right. I got my sounds. All right. So after the news, we're going to jump into the main. But before we jump into the main, let's talk about the Effective Group. They are the second sponsor of the show this evening. They've actually been a sponsor of the Practical Chrome podcast for quite some time. They have been sponsoring us back since like June, I think, and they've just been an awesome sponsor. They've been helping us out along the way, and we want to tell you about them, right? So they've been sponsoring the show for a long time, and what they do is they build websites, right? So if you need a fantastic website that looks like great on mobiles and tablets, but also gets you like selling online, then the Effective Group is the company that you're going to want to go to. Now they're based in the UK, and they've been around for about 15 years, but they work across the world, and they're able to get the internet. They make the internet work for you by publishing you on the web, not just by slapping a website up there, not just a website, but a cool website, like I said, with their responsive design that allows it to be the same marketing, depending on whatever device it is. But they'll also work on SEO management, which of course search engine optimization. So that means that if you're searching for your product, or they're searching for someone like you in your field, then they'll find they're going to get you to the top of the list. They're going to work on getting you to the top of the list. If you're in a certain local area, if someone's in that area, then they search for you or your product line, they'll find you first, and they'll know where to get you because they're local. You'll be the first thing that comes up. They're going to work with you on that. They're going to work with you on advertising. They're going to do pay-per-click, product listing ads management. Then there's the social media aspect. There's so many things that you need to work on when you try and make an online presence, and you try to let the marketing work for you. And the Effective Group, what they're going to do is they're going to work on all those different aspects, from the web design, SEO management, product listing, and then social media. If you want to have a presence out there, social media is going to be one of those big areas, and they're going to get you on Twitter, Facebook, G+, I'm sure MySpace, if you really want it. So these are the guys that you want to go to. They're going to have one-on-one guidance. They're not going to really use any tricky, jargon or anything like that. There's going to be one regular contact that you speak with and hold conversations with about your product and what you need to have happen, and they'll give you the suggestions that you need to really get you selling out there on the line. So again, Effective Group, making the internet work for you. To find out more about the Effective Group, view their portfolio, and read about their successes, please visit them at effective-group.com. Again, that's effective-group.com. And again, thanks to them again for sponsoring the show. All right, guys. So, the main. Now, the main, again. It's been such a long week. But, James, developing on a Chromebook. When you mentioned this to me and you said, we talked about it a little bit last week, and you wanted to kind of dive a little bit deeper, get into it a little bit deeper, and you're talking web design, right? You're talking about flat files such as CSS, JavaScript, things like that, and you wanted to kind of go over that. What currently do you use for developing, the websites? You've got 3 or 4 websites. What do you normally develop with? What tools do you currently use?
Well, if it's a WordPress website, I'm just using the WordPress dashboard. However, sometimes I will need to move files, and it's just easier to do it via FTP rather than WordPress. So there is an FTP app in the Chrome Web Store for that. For non-WordPress websites, I used to just do my edits through cPanel, which was okay. But I didn't realize how awful cPanel's code editor was until I started using an app that you actually told me about called Cloud9, and another one called Code Anywhere. They're both very similar. They both give you one basically workspace for free and unlimited workspaces for like $20 a month. So those apps, they're completely cloud-based. I want to say, and you might have to back me up on this because I'm pretty much never offline. Does Code Anywhere work offline? Do either of these work offline?
I don't believe that they do. I could be wrong. I'll have to double check that. But in the show notes, what I'll do is I'll put a link to each one, and I think each one also has a Chrome app. But that being said, I believe that Shift Edit is the only one that actually has an extension that installs along with the app, because the app's really kind of a redirect that really becomes a local editor.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because they're basically called is called online IDEs. So if you actually do a Google search for online IDE, and an IDE is an integrated development environment, and that's kind of a half truth in a sense with some of these IDEs. Some of them it isn't, because you can actually do like you can launch the website inside the page and see like a preview, things like that. And also when you start getting into like the app style of web page. But I'm sorry, but go ahead. So you were saying that you've looked into Cloud9, Code Anywhere, and have you had success after dealing with cPanel and the others?
Oh yeah, cPanel. cPanel tries to color code things, but if you put something in your code like, say, an apostrophe, it screws up everything after that. The colors all go wrong. It's just really stupid. It's the only thing that I liked in cPanel was the find and replace all. But the only reason I ever needed to use that was because, and I don't know whose fault this is, I'm going to blame cPanel. I would copy text from another website, say for Chromebook.reviews, I'd put a little snippet of a review on my website, so I'd copy a quote, and when I paste it in to cPanel, the quote or the apostrophe will be like the funny little slanted quote or apostrophe, and when I publish it and view it in my browser, instead of being an apostrophe, it's like the random letter symbols or whatever for it.
Right.
So I could go into cPanel and I could do Control Find, and I would find apostrophe, and I would replace it with apostrophe, and it would go through the whole page, replace every apostrophe with an apostrophe, and then I could publish it, and then it would look fine. That was a neat feature that fixed a problem that was probably caused by cPanel anyways. Other than that, there's nothing. There's no features or anything. At least GoDaddy's version of cPanel, it's not laid out super well. When you're looking at your page, you can't tell what page you're editing. It tells you, but the URL string or whatever is so long that you don't actually see the file name. So you see your server name, the folder name, and that's it. You don't see which file you're editing. So if you're like me and you're editing several pages at a time because you have massive ADD, you don't really know which one is which, and that's really frustrating. With Cloud9, it opens each page as a tab, very similar to your browser would, and there in each tab it has the title of the page you're editing. So first of all, that's super handy. It also puts a little asterisk there if you've made any changes that you haven't saved, so you always know if you need to save or not. That's really handy. It has the file tree on the left of your server. It connects to your server via FTP. So you get the whole file tree on the left side, so you can see all your folders and files and everything. It's just really slick. It color codes your code for you, so it makes it really easy to spot the divs and the spans and the whatnots and everything. URLs are green and other things are blue, and it's just really easy to spot, and it organizes the code pretty nice. It gives you some little alerts on the left. If, for instance, I have a couple lines of code that apparently are missing a semicolon. I copy and pasted that from Google Analytics, and it's working, but Code9 thinks that I'm missing a semicolon in my code there, so it gives me a little flag so I can check that line and see if there's something I might need to fix in that particular line of code. If I put in a div or something and I don't put the closing tag, I forget, it'll tell me things like that. So it's a pretty awesome little editor. Does require internet, but who doesn't have internet, right? According to Microsoft, a lot of people.
It's totally true. So and you know what, you're absolutely right. So like when you want to what's really cool, like you said about Code Anywhere, Cloud9, Shift Edit, what they also offer is, and I don't know if you witnessed this or not, but they have, if you use Bitbucket or you use GitHub, some of them have, like, you can do single sign-on with, or auto sign-in or whatever it's called, with either Google. You can use it with Bitbucket. You can do it with GitHub, so that way your account is actually all linked, and then you can bring your projects in from GitHub, modify them, and then push them back over. Do a pull, and then actually push it back to Origin, and then you've updated your code, and you've got all your notes, and you've got your revisioning history. I mean, they've really, and then they've got FTP. They have sandboxes. They've got,
SSH.
what's that?
You can do SSH too.
Yep, you can do SSH. Craig, have you used? I think you've used Cloud9, I believe. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Come on, what do I got to drag it out of you? Both of you, you're killing me this evening. You're killing
What
me.
do you want to know?
Everything.
So James has talked about some of the features of an IDE, and especially with an online IDE, you're getting things like syntax highlighting, auto formatting, autocomplete, and you're getting the warnings and errors over on the side on the line number to show you like where you might have an error in your code. Have you experienced this?
Not frequently. As I mentioned last week, I still do the majority of my heavy web development on a Windows box. And the reason I do that is, as James mentioned, FTP is so much easier. And I've got FileZilla, and it works very well. And I also use a development program called Brackets. It's developed by Adobe. It is open source, and it is just phenomenal. It has so many little handy tricks and features. It's just completely irreplaceable to me at this moment in time, just like Adobe Photoshop is. So I keep trying to move my development online. When I have a situation where I just need to make a slight tweak, I'm finding myself going to Cloud9 instead of turning on my Windows machine, waiting half an hour, and then digging in. So I'm trying, but it is a slow process for me. And because I still need my Windows box for Photoshop anyway, and a lot of times when I'm doing web development, I'm doing the design and the development, it kind of goes hand in hand. It is a lot easier to do everything on one box instead of trying to switch to Windows for Photoshop and then grab a Chromebook for coding. It just goes faster when everything's on the same screen.
Well, no, wait a minute. Wait. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Why? Here's a challenge for you, Craig.
Okay.
Here's a challenge. Why not? Why not use Cloud9 or Code Anywhere instead of Brackets on your Windows machine, and then slowly, and then finally transfer to Pixlr like James and I have for image editing.
Because I firmly believe in using the best tool for the job. And Photoshop is worth $20 a month I pay for it. Brackets is worth every free cent that I've never given
a month?
Did you just say $20 a month?
Yeah.
My mind is just like, I'm blown right there.
It works for me. It works for my pricing structure. I'm a small business, and I definitely get my money's worth every month. But it's just completely irreplaceable in terms of Pixlr. Pixlr is nice, and it works for a lot of quick things, but it doesn't have the capabilities that Photoshop does. And I'm not saying that's a limitation of web apps. I don't believe it really is. I think it's just a limitation that Adobe's been around so much longer, and they've perfected a lot of the little things. And they've got paid engineers. Let's be honest. I mean, GIMP's been around just as long. They just don't have the comprehension that it takes to make a polished product.
Well, comprehension is not the right word.
I'm excited to see this new what were the Amazon thing we were talking about earlier. You mentioned Autodesk. I think was one of the things that article mentioned. Could develop these more complex apps. Since Autodesk now owns Pixlr, I'm kind of excited to see if maybe we'll see a better Pixlr coming soon. I've been waiting for a better Pixlr anyways ever since I heard Autodesk bought them. But now that Amazon is doing this thing with creating these streamable complex apps, maybe we'll see a better Photoshop competitor that hopefully they won't charge us money for.
That would be fantastic. I would go for that.
It'll require internet, but
Yeah, yeah. My problem right now with using like Chrome Remote Desktop is just that Photoshop, the quality loss is terrible.
It's significant, yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that. I've tried. It works in a pinch, but if you're going to be doing anything where you need correct colors, it's just not viable right now.
or drawing.
Right.
My Chrome Remote Desktop is a little laggy, and you could be going to draw a circle, and all of a sudden it's like
Right.
it's a
Right.
lag.
Yeah. So I think I'm trying. I'm also cutting down the amount of development I do. James is kind of getting started, and I'm kind of phasing out. I love the development that I do, but it's not something that I am going to do as a career. So I'm kind of letting it go a little bit. I'm not learning all of the new HTML5 stuff. I'm maintaining what I have. I'm not planning on doing anything major in the future with it. So
Lies.
yeah, lies.
Something.
It's all lies.
That's my intention anyway. We'll see how it.
Didn't
We'll see
Steve
how it
Jobs say that
goes.
they weren't going to get into the tablet market?
Let's not compare me to Steve Jobs.
You're pulling a Steve Jobs, Craig.
He's totally pulling a Steve Jobs. Speaking of website building, so we've talked a little bit about static files when it comes to JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. A lot of those are strictly flat, literally, right? They're not incredibly dynamic. With the JavaScript, you can get dynamic a little bit, but when you really want to get, with JavaScript you can get really dynamic, especially if you make it a single page app. But my point is, what about the back end, right? So we've talked a little bit about WordPress, which is a PHP MySQL stack, right? So it's using PHP for its scripting language, and then it's using MySQL backend. That is literally like an app that has to be on a server, and it produces the data that's been stored in the database for you when you look at the blog. It brings it up as you've requested. Otherwise, it sits on a database. So there's not a bunch of flat pages sitting out on the website. So when you're developing either an app or you have a back end, some people say, well, how would I develop that on a Chromebook? Well, I'm glad you asked, first of all. And there's a website called OpenShift.com, and it's actually a Red Hat project. Wait, hold on. It's called OpenShift, and what it allows you to do is that it gives you a free playground to build applications by using this gearing system. So if you want to build an application, a web app in Node.js, and you want to build everything with JavaScript, and then also have the back end work on files and such. I mean, this thing is so cool, and it has all the different databases. So some people say, oh well, you're on a Chromebook, you can't, you on a Windows machine or especially a Linux machine, you can actually get in and build the back end of an application. You can build yourself basically a small server on your computer, right? With a Chromebook, you can't do that currently. So with something like OpenShift, you now have, and also the Cloud9 and the Cloud9 and the Code Anywhere, I think that they actually have some of these already built in as well. But OpenShift is really one of those ones that allows you to just using this gear system, just kind of plop things in and stack them the way that you want, and then build on top of that. So you're not limited just because you're on a Chromebook. I would actually say that your code is actually more secure. I don't know about you, but I've lost hard drives. I've mixed up my code, and I'm like, what did I do wrong, right? But if you're using OpenShift, you can use Git, so you can save your code and you can have revisions and stuff like that. So definitely check out OpenShift. I'm going to bring up the site, and I'll have a link to it in the show notes. James, you took a look at this. What were your thoughts on OpenShift?
I did not look very long at OpenShift because it was mostly over my head. As far as developing goes, websites is pretty much all I do, and so a lot of the stuff on OpenShift seemed a lot more awesome than what I do.
No, and it's not to say that a flat file system can't get it done. I'm just saying that there's some people say that you're not building like applications. You're just you might just be building a website. When you use something like a CMS tool, like Craig uses a CMS tool as well for his web building as well, don't you, Craig?
I do, but I would like to point out that the Chromebook comparison tool is built as a flat stack. It uses PHP for the form, but the data is actually stored in HTML files, not in a database. And every now and then I like to go in and look at my PHP error log just to see how many people have been pen testing against it. And it's always fun because they assume that it's got a database backend or that it's somehow tied into my CMS, and it's not. It's just a flat stack. And I purposely did that because I am not a security expert. So I wanted to make sure, I can take an off-the-shelf CMS and make sure it stays solid, but I wasn't going to build something that I wasn't confident in, so I just built it single static stack. Can't break it.
There you go. And that's kind of
not a dare. It's not a dare.
That's one of the dangers that you come up with the so CMS of course stands for the content management system, which could be like Drupal or others that allow you to kind of like WordPress, allow you to save a lot of the information in a database and then you just bring it up. But you also have forms and things like that where if someone were to do penetration testing, they could probably find some holes here and there. But so anyway, definitely check out OpenShift if you think that you're like you want to build a large backend. Like let's say you're building a game and you need to have multiple databases, or you want to use MongoDB, a NoSQL database instead of MySQL. So they just have a lot of different options out there. So definitely check that out. One final thing that I wanted to bring up was Code Academy. Now there's a couple of different online learning tools for coding. James, did you get a chance to take a look at that?
Yeah, I learned most of what I know about CSS. Well, I've learned most of what I know about CSS from Craig. The other 30% I learned from Code Academy.
There you go. Exactly. I love Code Academy. Code Academy is a place where you earn badges and stuff like that, but the courseware is built by people who who want to volunteer and put together the classes. So like you'll build like a cash register app in JavaScript, which was truly amazing. And it really, when I first got into development, I was really like, well, what do I develop in? And whenever you ask yourself that question, what language do you want to develop in? You can develop. There's so many languages, right? So then you have to decide, well, what platform should I do, or am I trying to make money at it? Am I just trying to learn? So like you're thrown all these languages. Everyone will throw you a language and say that you need to learn it, right? With the Code Academy, when I jumped into the JavaScript, it was a long time ago, and I'd already been coding a little bit in another language, 2 other languages, right? And it was just where I was still like just needling my way through and trying to figure it out. And the JavaScript one showed me that, really like the coding languages are really like Latin, like they all have a basis on straight logic. So like they all kind of have the same if-thens and loops, and you know what I mean. So once you learn that, so I think the Code Academy is really one of those great places, great sources of information. Like James said, like when you're trying to do some CSS, or if you actually want to learn how to do some coding, they have like Ruby, JavaScript. They have all these different things that you can definitely learn on. So I recommend it highly that everyone check it out.
I also wanted to mention real quick an offline editor that I forgot to talk about called Zed Code Editor. It doesn't have the best, most friendly user interface. You open the app, and then you click on Open Local Folder, and then you just click Open after that, and it'll open your Downloads folder. And then for some reason, you have to press Control E. When you do that, it gives you a list of all the files and stuff that's in your Downloads folder, at which point you could open it like an HTML file or whatever and edit it. So it's a strange interface, but it works. It doesn't seem to have FTP support, but they have some weird convoluted way of connecting to your server that I was unable to do, and I'm not sure if it's my fault, Zed's fault, or GoDaddy's shared hosting's fault. But it involved SSH, which Google has Google actually developed an SSH app in the Chrome Web Store if you need one, by the way. It's in beta, naturally. But so apparently you can edit local files with Zed. I'm sorry, remote files with Zed. Haven't been able to do it myself, but it did allow me to edit files on my Chromebook while offline. So that was a plus. That's something that Cloud9 and Code Anywhere wouldn't allow me to do.
Yep, and what I've done is on my Chromebook, and I'm going to share the screen here. What I've done is I've opened Zed and also the Google the Chrome Developer Editor. Chrome Developer Editor, I think that's what it's called. I've opened both of them, and what James was talking about is very interesting because what's funny is the Zed, I had it before, and you're right, it's a little like, it's odd because it has like this very early Linux feel to it, to be honest. Like there's weird like keystrokes that you kind of have to know. It has like this weird sense of how to do that stuff, but it does open a GitHub repository, Dropbox files, and then of course open local folder. So, oh no, what happened? Oh, I lost Practical Chrome. I lost my screen share. But anyway, so the other one was the Chrome Dev Editor, which again is in beta, like Craig said, James said, but you can also do GitHub. It's rough right now.
I'm not sure what that app was that you had up there, John. Just to clarify, that's not the one I was talking about.
That's the Zed Editor. ZED?
No, that one. Yeah, that one, but I don't know what that other one was.
That's the Chrome development, and it's what crashed Hangouts, to be honest.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that I mentioned that it was in beta, but I was talking about an app called Secure Shell.
Oh.
And all that is just an SSH tool that lets you SSH into your server and, do stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do apologize. Well, is that in beta, though?
It says beta.
Oh. Anyway, so, well, they're both in beta. They're both in beta. One is an editor, and the other is a. But the Zed editor is actually pretty cool. But so check that out too. Honestly, check them all out. If you're a developer and you're like, I don't want to get a Chromebook because I can't develop, especially when it comes to web apps. Now you can't develop job applications. You can't develop C applications. So there are limitations there. So if you really are interested in some things, definitely look into it. But if you're definitely doing web development, I don't know. I think that it's a really good way to go. Any final thoughts, Craig? Let's start with you on the development. I realize that you use Windows.
I'm probably showing my coding age, but Code Academy is great, but so is W3 schools. I grew up with that. That was my resource.
That's old school.
It is. It's old school. It doesn't have classes per se. I think they've got little quizzes, but it's mostly a kind of like a Wikipedia of coding languages. So they go through basic stuff. It came up as a reference in one of my college courses when I first started. So it's definitely out there. I've actually put it in the show notes too. If you're really looking for just basic, it's a good place to start.
If you Google how do I blank in HTML or CSS, the first link will probably be a W3 Schools link.
Probably.
Correct, and that's because they are the World Wide Web Consortium. They're the ones that work on some of the standards as well. So they actually do a little bit more than just. But they also have some really great tutorials. Also, if you're doing PHP, PHP.net also is the same thing. If you have a question about PHP, you say, "How do I blank in PHP?" PHP.net's the first thing to pop up. So
Actually, I hate to correct you. I don't think W3 Schools has any relation to the W3C. Do they? I don't think it's an official project.
hold on, hold the phone, and you just send me the link with the compiler. No, you can code in C, but that's not the same. Like you can't. I don't know.
Haven't used it, but I just saw it.
Okay, just to clarify, no, W3 Schools is not affiliated with the W3C. They are a private company, Refres Data, which is Norwegian family-owned software development and consulting. But it's still a fantastic resource.
I'll have to hold on a second. I could have sworn they.
There's also W3Fools.com, which was started a few years ago because the state of documentation for developers was poor. Developers often use W3 Schools only because it is the top of search results. That's from the W3 Fools website. That was kind of a fun little website.
This is a wormhole, and we could go down and down and down. Anyone that loves politics and has an interest in technology, get involved in the W3C. Please, you will love it.
I could have sworn that they were in cahoots. I could have sworn they were. Maybe just because of the name.
I think it's just the name.
I was boonswoggled. Okay. What can you do? Okay, so James, any wrap up notes on developing on a Chromebook? Like,
I would just like to say, if anyone's watching this and they are wondering about developing at least web pages on a Chromebook, it's absolutely possible. I'm no graphic designer, but Pixlr does fine for what I do with Chromebook.reviews, tech.itiswhatitis.biz, Cedar Rapids Web Design, all these websites, any graphics you see on there were created with Pixlr. All those websites were developed and maintained on my Chromebook. I don't use Windows anymore. So it is entirely possible to be a web designer and be 100% Chrome OS. I will say that photo editing would be the biggest limitation. If you need Photoshop, you're going to struggle. But as far as the development aspect goes, there's absolutely no reason why you can't be a web developer on Chrome OS.
And the other piece would be also, and I didn't mention this, but you can develop a Chrome app on your Chromebook because of the different editors that are available. So you can also do that. So if you want to build an awesome Chrome app, right there, right on your Chromebook. All right, cool guys. Well, awesome show. I think for the login, I think what we'll do is I'll just link all of the different Chrome web apps that are available that we've talked about, and I think what we'll do is we'll wrap it up. Maybe make it a little bit early this time. Can we make it early, guys? Please.
Do it.
Jeez, you're always so long-winded. Yeesh. All right, Mr. Tumbleson, where can people find you throughout the week?
Listeners can find me on Google Plus or Chromeup.com.
There you go. And Mr. Welbus, where are you going to be?
I'll be on Google Plus. I'll be at Chromebook.reviews, and for my Cedar Rapids watchers, which is probably none of you, you can see me at newbocedarrapids.com.
All right. Well, you can find me. My name is John Oliphant. You can find me on the Google Pluses, and you can find, of course, at practicalchrome.com. You can email me at john@practicalchrome.com or hit the contact link on practicalchrome.com. You can also check us out, Practical Chrome on G+, just search Practical Chrome. You can also check out our YouTube channel, which has all the videos, and you can also, when you head over to our website, you can check out the MP3 where you can easily download the show and listen to it on an MP3, or you can also open up your favorite podcast catcher app, whether that be iTunes, TuneIn.com. You could do any other really cool ones. What are the cool ones? There's the cool ones like Beyond Pod. You can find us in there. You can find us in Player FM. All of them, pretty much all of them. So definitely check us out, and we do appreciate you watching. Definitely check us out next week. I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to do something. Something's going to happen. Things are going to happen. We're going to review things. Ooh, Craig and James are going to be in Chicago. So I don't even know if they'll be able to make it. They might be just too excited, and like we'll have to pull them off the ceiling to bring them down to earth to be able to talk on the Google Pluses and on the
mobile, John. I might have to jump in from my phone. Crazy Google party somewhere.
That's right, exactly. That's right. Hey, get her done. All right, guys. You guys have a good rest of the week, and we will see you next Tuesday.